correct me if I'm wrong. I saw that you were named the funniest person in Hong Kong and the funniest person in Asia.
Yeah, so
Vivek, thank you so much, first of all, for accepting to doing this. So who is Vivek?
So I am a stand-up comedian, born and raised in Hong Kong, went to Chinese school, so I speak Cantonese and English. I do shows in both languages. Oddly enough, I may be Indian, but I don't speak much Hindi, my own dialect. So actually I do shows in Cantonese and English, my Hindi not so much. So that's what I do for a living. I'm a full-time comedian, entertainer. I go to schools, I go to universities, I go to companies, I go to comedy clubs, and I just make people laugh.
When you do comedy in English and in Cantonese, how do you feel? How do you write your jokes? And also I want to understand the flexibility. I heard that, for example, cursing in Cantonese is very interesting and very flexible. How do you play with these languages to create your punchline?
So the first thing with languages, we have to understand, for example, the way a language is used. Okay, so for example, in Cantonese, it's a very slangy, kind of like just friendly language. Why do I say friendly? It's like you can't be too formal. When you're formal, it feels very pretentious, which is why the joke is you can't be romantic in Cantonese. Because it just sounds like, what is wrong, you know? It's a very like, hey, what's up, my friend, you know, that kind of language. And you want to say, hey, buddy, I love you. Oh, I love you so, you know, you're like, it just sounds weird. It's not romantic in that sense. Because it's such a rough kind of like I said, slangy language, number one. Number two, also the culture behind it. For example, in Cantonese or the Asian culture, we all don't want to look bad. We don't want to be, you know, the odd one out. We want to just be, you know, everyone's all good. Which is why you will see in Cantonese shows, you don't attack the audience. You don't say, oh, you're ugly. You will say, oh, we're all ugly. So nobody feels like, oh, what are you making me feel bad? In English shows, you might say, oh, wow, this gentleman over here, you have a problem. You know, they're like, oh, it's okay, you know. So you learn that culture as well. Now with the double languages, initially I would find that in Cantonese, because the way the language is used and also my vocabulary may not be as much as English, so the words I use are simpler. So the pictures I draw are much simpler. I won't be like, and you know, I won't use big words. I just use the normal chit-chatty words, right? So that was the first one. Because of that, it became so simple for people to understand that it's like, yeah, it's just a casual friend talking to them. However, in English, because also the culture of comedy is so long, people know what comedy is. They're ready to listen to you properly and wait for the punchline. In Cantonese, they're like, why am I listening to a stranger? Who are you, you know? So you have that. So that's the first thing. I say, why I need to know the background is because the way I use the language depends on the connection I have with the audience. So for example, an audience who's coming to comedy for the first time, who's never seen what this is like, their brain is not, let me pay attention. I want to hear what he said. They're like, what's this? So you keep it simple, you know, and you play with that, okay? You don't let them lose face, and lastly, the most important thing is that you basically let them know that, hey, it's just me telling you something in my mind with the words out. So Cantonese is more visual, so I draw more pictures in my words. With English, maybe you get the idea we're good enough. That's how I play with it. However, over time, now that I've done it for so many years, my challenge is, can I tell the same joke in two languages? So what you will find is you have a certain nuances, the way the sentences are structured. So some, like for example, I'm going to go take the bus in a bit. Okay. So in English I'll say, I'm going to go take the bus in a short while. In Cantonese you would say, 我一陣去搭巴士, which means I'm in a short while going to take the bus. So you won't say 我搭巴士一陣. In other words, I won't say I'm taking the bus in a short while in Cantonese. So now because I flipped it over, the whole rhythm changes. You get it? So I have to learn that as well. The whole feel, So I mean, because I speak it on a daily basis, my brain doesn't translate, it's speaking the language. So in my comedy, same thing. I'm actually not going like, this is in English, why do I say in Chinese? I'm like, no, this is what I say naturally. So those are small things. I would say the structure, the way you organize the words is different. In comedy, you always put the punchline, the funniest part at the end. So if in Cantonese, the structure is like this, I have to find a way to restructure to put that back in the end. Small nuances, really.
Interesting. Generally, I don't know, could be a stereotype, but generally, are there some spots that when a comedian get booked for, they'll be excited, oh man, you know, universities are amazing, or bars, and other spots maybe like, man, I don't like bars maybe, or schools.
There are. I mean, like, as a comedian, let's say one of the comedians that you admire, is coming to do a show in Hong Kong, wherever. And they usually like to have an opening act as a warm-up to get the crowd, you know, in the momentum to laugh. And if you get to open for your idol, that's like, wow, I can't believe I was the warm-up act for this person. Oh my God, that's crazy. You know, I shared the same stage as this person. Those are the gigs you look forward to. Also, you get some of those gigs where it's just a fun night of your favorite comedians all doing 5-minute spots, and it's just like a cool, fun night.
Okay.
The ones you don't like is for example, when the audience is too like, do you know who I am? I am this great person. Please entertain me. It's like too proper, and you're like, okay, here we go. But it's part of the whole thing. I always say it challenges you. So I've done shows for maybe top people who are like, CEOs and everything, and they're so used to sitting up straight like, please talk, right? You learn how to play with that.
Okay.
I've done it for kids who are like 5-6 years old. I'm like, hey everyone, my name is Vivek. What's your name? Hey, I've done that, and it challenges you to be able to adjust accordingly.
Yeah.
So for me, honestly, I think of it as exercise.
Okay.
I'm different. Today's a dumbbell, tomorrow's a machine. I'm trying different stuff. I may like the dumbbell more, but I still got to use that stuff to kind of make more balance for myself.
Yeah. I mean, I believe being versatile is very important. I like the attitude, Vivek. I really like it. How did you get into comedy? Like, who inspired you?
So I started comedy because I used to grow up watching stand-up comedy, and I didn't understand what this was. I was like, there's a guy talking, that's what they do, huh? And I saw a show called Seinfeld on TV. Back in the days it wasn't the internet, so I had to just watch TV, right? Jerry Seinfeld, before his sitcom starts, he would basically do some comedy, stand-up, and I was like, that's so cool, just talk, that's all you're doing, and I like that. Then I saw other comedians when YouTube started, and I was like, that's so cool, you just talk? I can talk, right? And I told myself, before I die, I want to try stand-up comedy once in my life. And I just had that idea. This was when I was much younger. I did not know where or when. I just said, just try whatever. And then in around 2007, I saw an ad in the newspaper that said stand-up comedy competition. And I said, okay, let's just try it for fun. I did it, I loved it, and then ever since then I just kept it as a hobby. But as you do something more and more, you get better at it. And from a hobby, became semi-professional, a few jobs here, a few gigs there, and then I grew more and more, and I challenged myself, can I do it more? And so since around 2014, this became my full-time thing, where I said, can I sustain my living with just entertaining people? And I just kept at it. So that's the whole evolution of, I liked it, I love the idea of just talking, you're so lazy, I love it. And then evolved into from a hobby and interest into full-time profession I am now.
Was it the first time you tried in 2007, the one you have on YouTube?
Yes.
That one was recorded?
That is
because
the
it's
first
like
time.
15 years ago, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's the one where my hairline was all the way down here. So that was the one. And what happened was back then YouTube wasn't a big thing. It was just a video platform.
2007 is crazy.
Right? It's a long time.
You lived there, like literally that's your address. Like
exactly,
15 years is crazy.
Yeah, right? And then so that's the thing I've been doing. And honestly, that video you will see a lot of instincts of watching other comedians and like just naturally learning from them without realizing. So yeah, that's when it all began, what you saw on YouTube.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I saw that you were named the funniest person in Hong Kong and the funniest person in Asia.
Yeah, so the funniest person in Hong Kong was because the 2007 was a comedy competition.
Yeah.
I joined both English and Cantonese, right?
Okay.
And then I competed in both, but oddly enough, I won the Cantonese category, making me the funniest person in Hong Kong in Cantonese in 2007, but not in English yet. So then 2008, I competed again, and I won the English category as well. And then after that, they're like, no more competition for you. Go away. Yeah, you're too funny. Get lost. Yeah.
So let me get this straight. The first time you did a stand-up comedy, it was in a competition.
Yes.
And you won in Cantonese.
In Cantonese. It's ridiculous. Apparently my English is not good. I got to speak better, But I think the truth is because all those years I used to watch comedy as a fan.
Yeah.
And when you watch something enough, you absorb certain things. And without realizing, I just learned how to hold a mic a bit better.
Yeah.
I caught the timing a bit better. Yeah. So it was just over the years of just watching and watching and watching without my learning really properly. So that helped me. Also my identity. So as an Indian kid in Hong Kong, in a predominantly Chinese community, surely Cantonese-speaking Indian guy will have some of these weird experiences.
Yeah.
So one of my jokes before in the Cantonese set, you'll see that went viral was, I go to a market and I want to go buy some apples, right? Okay. Now, normally whenever a market person sees a foreigner, they will be like, hey, my friend, right? Pang yao, pang yao. But what they will do is that, because very often a non-Chinese person, they speak Cantonese with the wrong tones. So the correct tone is pang yao, hui pang yao. But we might not have good Cantonese. We're like, hey, pang yao, So the salesperson will purposely speak to me in bad Cantonese, thinking I'll understand. Yeah, not a mock, but more like just being a friend. Hey, my friend. You do that.
Got it. Oh, that's nice.
So that kind of thing. And I was joking because I speak Cantonese. So imagine sales like, hey, my friend. I'm like, no. Don't talk to me properly. And then the sales guy's like, Sure, you're so boring. You're not fun.
Ah.
So that was the joke, you know. So
Okay,
with all these things, I would talk about my life in Hong Kong as a non-Chinese guy and all the
Yeah.
weird things that would happen.
Yeah.
And people really liked that because it's so fresh.
Yeah,
It's so different. So
100%,
that
yeah.
I think got everyone's attention and got me the champion.
Oh man.
And remember, I had that idea of I wanted to do comedy once in my life.
Yeah.
So even with that idea, I started writing ideas down before the competition.
Oh, okay.
So I had all these ideas, and when the chance came, I was ready for it. So that's another thing I told people. I was like, I was preparing for something I never knew when, but I was just getting. And when it happened, I'm like, let's go. I'm ready.
Okay.
This is one of my jokes I always say. Like, I'm so busy. I have no time for discrimination.
I love that.
I have no time for this. Like, you
I
want to
agree.
discriminate me? Find me on Saturday at 4 p.m. when I have time. Otherwise, don't bother me.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. So for me,
I love
it's
that.
always a joke.
I love that. What it's like being Indian Hong Konger. I get
Yeah.
that.
So this is something I've really had to struggle with growing up, as in like, what's my identity? I'm Indian, but I'm not Indian enough.
Yeah.
I'm in Hong Kong. I speak Cantonese, but I'm not Chinese. What's going on? Am I a Hong Konger or not? There were times in my life where I felt like I just couldn't fit in. Like no matter what I did, is like my friends wear this way, the clothes this way, they're Chinese, and I wear it. It's awkward.
Yeah.
So I find that after a while of thinking, what is a Hong Konger? I find that Hong Konger is not a skin color, it's not an ethnicity, it's more a mentality, it's a mindset. So I always say like the Hong Kong game is simple, like just don't get in my way of making money. It's simple. You know, it's like if you help me make money, I like you. If you're in my way, I don't like you.
Entrepreneurial spirit. It's just
entrepreneurial
where is
spirit.
the money?
Where's the money and also where's the opportunity?
Okay.
So I always say it's very simple. In Hong Kong, if you don't get in my way of success,
Yeah.
I don't mind
We're
you.
good.
We're good.
Oh.
It doesn't matter about your skin color, just don't get in my way, man. I got stuff to do, please, you know.
Okay.
Secondly, the one is if you help me succeed,
Yeah.
I don't care what you look like.
Okay.
I like
Makes
you because
sense.
you're making my life good.
Yeah.
Right? So don't add burden, help
Yeah.
me lighten my burden. And I think that's the Hong Kong spirit. And the Hong Kong spirit really is a matter of the competitiveness of I want to be better than you, but I want you to be a really good competitor.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. If we're doing a 100-meter dash, right?
Okay.
And let's say you fall down.
Okay.
And I run and I win the race.
Uh.
I won't feel satisfied. I'm like, I didn't really win. I mean, he
It was
fell
not
down.
fair,
yeah.
kind of.
And also, you can't. He fell down. I didn't. Yeah,
it was not-
there. Yeah. I want to just beat you. So one of my other
man.
jokes is that when you take like the minibus in Hong Kong, there's
Yeah.
a limited number of seats in the minibus.
Exactly.
And every time the bus arrives, we're all like, "Honey, can I get on? I can fit in. I can fit in."
Yeah.
But the best feeling is knowing when, let's say, the bus has 4 seats,
Okay.
and you are the 4th person,
Okay.
and you just made it.
Ah.
That is the Hong Kong spirit. We're like just enough, you know.
Okay.
That's the game.
Oh,
That's why
man.
my video on in my Instagram about taking the lift,
Okay.
where I see my friend running to the lift and I press the door close button.
Ah.
It's like yes, you know.
Okay.
So I feel Hong Kong is one of those, we want to squeeze every drop of opportunity we can without wasting. So we want to be just right. I
Okay.
will arrive for a meeting at 11 o'clock,
Okay.
at 10:59 seconds. That's what I want to arrive. I don't want to be early, I don't want to be late. I want to be just on time. That's the Hong Kong spirit. To me, as an Indian person in Hong Kong, I feel
Yeah.
it's no longer the skin color,
Yeah.
it's the mentality. And if I know the game,
Yeah.
I'm a Hong Konger.
I love that. How about the topics that, let's say, North Americans tackle in their comedy and Asians or East Asians? How does that differ?
What I find the ultimate
Tell
topic
us.
that everybody enjoys is
Oh.
just general life. Because it's so
Okay.
relatable.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So what I will, for me
I
as
like
well,
that.
I'm not a very political comedian. I'm not a very edgy comedian.
Okay.
I'm not a dirty comedian, right?
gotcha.
So very often my stuff is about general life. For example, one of the jokes I have in Hong Kong is that we take the escalator and we normally all stand on the right, we walk on the left. That's the common thing, right? However, there's always one person who for some reason will see everyone on the right, but they're like, I'm special.
Yeah.
I am unique.
Okay,
And they will stand on
okay.
the left. You're like,
Yeah.
this is not the time to be unique. You know.
Yeah,
So these
yeah.
are the small things that I will joke about, and people relate because like, oh yes, exactly, that's what it is. You know. So small
that's a
things
good
like that.
one. I
Yeah.
like that.
However, in Cantonese, what I find is that people don't appreciate too much of the adult, taboo, dirty topics.
Okay.
Mostly because it's also a cultural thing.
Yeah.
It's not common in Asian culture to be like, hey, so you know, we with this girl, you know.
No.
It's not. It's something that you have. You kind of feel a certain like, hey, I'm not like that, you know.
No, don't go that way.
Yeah, you don't go that way, you know. In English shows are like, oh, you with this lady, oh, look at
yeah,
the two,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So you don't want to single anyone out, make them feel awkward. Okay, so those topics I feel people are not there. Because also remember, in English comedy, the culture is there for so long, they know the comedian is just joking.
That's true.
So for example, in English comedy, the comedian might be like, hey, what's your name, sir? What do you do? You will interact.
Yeah.
In Cantonese, because people did not know, they're like,
We get scared, right?
why are you talking to me? I came for the show. Why, you know? So it's not there. They don't realize it's just part of the show. It's a joke.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Another question about culture and comedy. Are you familiar with Indian comedy, first of all, or South Asian comedy?
I see more like, let's say, Malaysian, Singaporean, that comedy. In India, I've seen a few, but not enough to say I know India comedy.
Okay.
With Indian comedy, remember, in India, they're also exposed to a lot of Western culture. The American culture is there, for example, they've got Amazon, India, all that kind of stuff. So they've been exposed to that kind of comedy. So you will find even in India, they can be a bit more crude with their comedy. In the sense, they can be a bit more like rude, you're like, oh, look at this, you know, that thing. In, let's say, Southeast Asia, they may like it a bit more simple. Because English may not be their first language. Secondly, you know, the exposure, for example, in Thailand, I noticed a lot of the comedy on TV is more slapstick. In other words, it's more visual, that kind of stuff. So because you're so used to that comedy, like let's say Mr. Bean and stuff like that, you expect the comedian to be more visual. That's why you'll see, like in the Western world, you won't see so many comedians like, there's a little bit less of that now. Because they've seen all the visual crazy stuff. They want it more deep. I want the, you know, the words and really take me to a place. So it's just like saying when you're young, when you first start reading storybooks, let's say horror books, you want the basic, oh, the ghost, oh, right? But as you get older, you're like, a ghost, that's it. This is boring. This is basic, you know. Same thing. So I think that's what I noticed. Now, yes, there are definitely jokes you can do in one place, but you can't do it in other places, whether it's political reasons, whether it's cultural. For example, in Thailand, you would never make fun of the king. It's just understood. It's like unnecessary risk, and why would you ever do that, right? Secondly, you know, so you have all these kind of, you understand the game. So I tell people, I said, look, it's a shame there is such censorship. However, I also say, look, think of it this way. It's like you're playing a particular game. And those are the rules.
Yeah, there are rules.
You get it? So you can't say, well, I don't want those rules. Well, then don't play this game.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
So change the game.
Exactly.
Change the
play a different game then, right? So I try to look at it that way. So hopefully it makes me feel, okay, I see what I'm doing. It's part of the game. I get it. Yeah. So there are definitely, every place has different things, but there's a lot of overlap. For example, general life, getting married, you know, family, work, business, stuff like that. It's all the same. So like I could tell the joke about pressing the button in the lift to close the door in Hong Kong, but it will translate in Singapore, translate in Malaysia. Oddly enough, it may not always translate in a more, let's say, Western culture. For example, if I made the joke about close the door on my friend, in English, Australia, they might be like, that's quite rude. Why would you do that? But the Asian is like, it's not rude, we're playing a game, it's a game, you know? So different things, right? So you have that as well.
Generally, what is a common misconception about comedians? I know that the worst sentence to say to a comedian, tell me a joke.
Absolutely.
What are the other things that...
First of all, everybody thinks we're optimistic, we're always happy, we're making jokes all the time. Now, there's no other profession where you're working full time. You're not cooking all day, you're not, you know, trying to calculate all day. But it just feels like, you know, that's you, right? You're a funny guy. It's like, again, I switch off, I'll read a book, stuff like that. I'm not making jokes about everything. Secondly, it's also the idea of like, oh, you're just talented. You just have a skill to make something funny.
That's good.
The truth is, I live in the same city as everyone else. I don't happen to live on a road that's funnier. I don't happen to just have such good luck that every time I go out, the world is funny. It's more like I try to train and challenge myself. Can I see the same thing and find a funny angle about it? Right? So that's a misconception. It's like, oh, you're just talented. It's just you can make anything funny. So there have been many opportunities like something's awkward at an event, like, oh, Viv, it's really awkward. Could you go up there and tell some jokes? Like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way, right? So there's loads of few things. But I also feel that the misconception is like, oh, they're a bit chaotic, they're disorganized. But that's what every artist, right? They always think a lot of art people like, and I'm a very systematic guy. Like I like my systems like A, B, C, D, like that. So it depends on each person. But I get it. I don't blame people for thinking that way. In the same way, you might assume an accountant is boring. They may not be. Maybe they're a fun person, but their job is, you know, very straightforward. So they can't be too creative with that.
So for this segment, try to answer the question in few words.
Okay, got it. Yes.
So first, what is a comedian?
A comedian is someone who can entertain an audience by simply telling stories in a funny way.
What is the best compliment you've ever got?
That, hey man, you made my day. I had a terrible day, but I laughed and you made my day.
If you could spend a day with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Leonardo da Vinci, because I feel he's a Renaissance man and he does so many different things. I'm like, you're good at everything. I want to know how.
That's true. What is a quote that you live by all the time?
Be So Good They Can't Ignore You by Steve Martin, another comedian, who said, if you're so good, even your enemies have to work with you. So be so good they cannot ignore you.
What makes Vivek laugh?
Very smart twist. Like if you give me a really creative twist, I'm like, oh, I didn't see that coming. You've got to surprise.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever got?
I read a book called The Art of the Start, and one said, make meaning, not money. Because if you do something meaningful to yourself, you're staying motivated. And if you do something meaningful, people want to support you to do it. Because they feel that you're doing something they couldn't, and they're like, hey, do that, because you're doing it for me as well.
Describe Hong Kong in few words.
In Cantonese, there's a phrase called Fai Lang Zeng. Fast, beautiful, and awesome. Ooh. It's simple, like get the job done quickly, do it really well, and to be awesome in yourself as well.
On a day-to-day, what makes Vivek happy?
When I can successfully feel like I was better today than I was yesterday. As long as I have a 1% improvement from yesterday, I'm a satisfied guy.
Okay. All right, so game time. In this game, I will play some recordings of some famous comedians.
All right.
I need you to guess who that person is. For each person you guess correctly, you get $10.
What? Okay.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Okay? First one.
Pedo teacher when I was going.
Oh, Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais. Yes, sir. Okay, first 10. Second one.
You have $5 and have to give somebody $250, you'd be upset. Johnny had to have at least $300 million and have to give up $150 million. And then when he married for 10 years.
I can't get the name. I skipped this
You
one.
forgot? Okay.
What?
That's Eddie Murphy.
Yes, that's his voice, of
Yes,
course.
sir.
Timmy, of course.
Yes, sir. Okay, next one.
I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, do a little people watch.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Yes, sir. The Rant
One
Man.
of my favorite comedians.
Oh man, this guy.
A new study found that men with beards are more attractive.
Norm Macdonald.
Yes, sir. One of my favorites. I love this guy,
Yeah.
man.
But yeah, just 2 weeks. That's what they told us. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
Don.
Turned into half
No.
a year. Turned into a year plus. We're waiting.
I can't get it.
No?
I can't get it. No.
Okay. This is Gabriel Iglesias.
Iglesias. Yes, Fluffy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's his voice. Oh man.
That's his voice. Okay, here is this guy.
And then when we have these natural disasters.
No, I don't know.
You had a gig about gun control, like in the U.S.,
Oh,
but he's not American.
The Australian guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy.
Now, I know as soon as I make
Jim Jeffries. Yes.
So, that's the guy. That's
Yeah.
the guy. This guy.
I love when white dudes get mad and cuss. Because y'all some funny motherfuckers when you cuss.
Oh, Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Richard,
Sure,
definitely, yeah.
Richard. Okay, let's see. Okay, this guy.
Explain to your mom over the phone how to fix a computer problem.
Oh, Ronnie Chang.
Yes, sir. Okay, last guy.
Learning German has been a weird journey for me. I've learned a few things about my German which haven't been great. So
Oh,
one day
Trevor
we
Noah.
just-
Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You
got
7 out of
70,
10.
so
Oh, that's not bad. 70%. Okay, I can take
That's
that.
70, yes.
I know my comedy.
Last thing.
Yes.
Where can people find you?
Real simple.
And what you got coming up in your life?
All right, real simple. My social media is all Funny Vivek, FUNNYVIVEK. So Instagram, Facebook, it's all the same. YouTube, unfortunately, someone took Funny Vivek, so it's Vivek Mahbubani. But trust me, stick on Instagram and Facebook, you'll find me over there. FunnyVivek.com has all my schedules as well. And the next show I have coming up, now we're in June 2023. I have a show happening tomorrow night, Thursday, right around the corner over there. I'm doing a show spot. I'm also doing a show this Saturday in a cinema room where we have 5 other Cantonese comedians.
In Typo, right?
In Typo.
I saw that. I saw it.
We're
I
doing
saw
it in
it.
the cinema room. We said, why not, right? Do something live.
When is that one?
That's 10th of June, happening this
10th of
Saturday.
June. Okay,
Otherwise,
okay.
I believe the end of June 2023, 29th or 28th, I'm doing my solo show in a lounge here in Central.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so just,
okay.
you know, lots of stuff happening. Funny Vivek is the easiest way. Just follow me, you'll know what's happening.
Perfect. Vivek, man, I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All good.
Take care.